Hey, everybody, welcome back. John Aravosis here from Washington. Not from Washington. I still haven't updated it. From Chicago, but not Washington, D.C. Coming to you live. This is the Aravosis Report, my show where I talk about the latest news from Ukraine, but also of late, the latest news from Israel and a quick Trump update, because I'll be doing a little bit more election stuff as we approach the election, just in case folks aren't annoyed enough. Let's get more annoyed. Anyway, welcome, guys. Welcome back. I'm going to get TikTok rolling here on my iPad. Introduce yourselves. That is exactly right, Paul. They get, although even as a younger dog, she was difficult. But let me get my TikTok rolling here first. 1 second here. Close a couple things. Introduce yourselves, guys, if you would. TikTok. Here we go. Brightness. Live. Boom. Okay, TikTok's going live. All right. Boom. That was funny. They've got a no countdown thing. Okay, TikTok, what are you doing? They flipped my camera around. Okay, can I just see how much I hate TikTok sometimes? They flipped my camera. Oh, God. Are you insane? What did they do? What did they do? Hold on, guys. I'm going to have to oh, my God. What did you? Okay, hold on. I'm having to end TikTok. Oh, my God, I hate these people. Can I say how much I hate TikTok sometimes? Tapping to go live. I can see myself. I went live and there was nothing there. Like my picture was gone. Jeez Louise. All right, let's try this again. Go live. Oh my God. Now it's working. Engineers, I told you, evil freaking engineers. You're everywhere. All right, mirror image. Now we're good. Oh my God. Anyway, I always love to have a show start off with tension, with tech things not working, Oh, man. All right. Hey, guys, on TikTok, we had a little TikTok glitch as I was launching, so I had to launch twice. Things are better now. Well, Sasha's always had those issues. I mean, I don't think it's an age thing. It's a long story with her, but she has a drinking problem, so to speak. She drinks too much water, but she needs to for her kidneys and, blah, blah, blah. So yes, I take her out, but sometimes she does what she wants to do. Anyway, hey, TikTokers, hey, YouTubers and Twitchers and Twitterers and everybody else. How are you guys doing tonight? Driving there? Okay, well, don't go look at your computer. Thank you, Succeed. Thank you, Elizabeth. Busy news day. Actually, some good Ukraine news today, which is nice because we've been looking for some of that lately. So that's a good thing. Hey, Annie. Mokab, thank you. Jetta. What else, guys? Mustard. Hey, Mustard. Oh, anyway. Oh, thank you, Swan, for the swan. Cute. Always like the cute little theme, keeping it together. Thanks, Mark Stark and John. People on Twitter are called twits. Yeah, Elon Musk would like to think that. I don't believe so. Hey, Jeff. That's Elon's little thing. Hey, Mark and John. Yeah, I got to do Mark and John. Napoleon with the rose. Thank you. Anyway, but yeah, so as always, guys, we'll wait maybe another minute max just for folks to join us on TikTok and YouTube and Twitter and everywhere else, and then we'll get rolling because sort of takes a minute for people to get the notification and everything. Thank you, Napoleon, for le rose. Jeff as well. But yeah, how are folks doing? What is it, Tuesday? It's Tuesday. All right. Thanks, comrade. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's Tuesday, so things are fine here. I've been taking the dog. It's been beautiful weather in Chicago, which is nice. Today was up to 60 again, which was woo-woo. Hey, Buford, back from Florida. Nice. Mom's good. She's making salmon tonight, which is her favorite, not mine. Hey, Andre. But what do you do? Thank you, Joe. Anyway, all right, guys, I'll get rolling here. So welcome, everybody. I am John Aravosis. This is my nightly show I do. Hey, Jonathan in Ireland. I do Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S., and I talk about the latest news from Ukraine. And also of late, we're covering Israel and the war in Gaza, too. And as the election gets closer, I will occasionally be having election stuff as well. I've got a quick story about Trump today because I do think it's important, and frankly, not sure how I don't cover election news as we get closer. Hey, Aiden, thank you for the gift. The way this works for anybody who's new, I try to go through the news and I may be a little less stressed today. I can feel it. I feel it as well, actually. Hey, Joe, I think it's like the traveling thing, But the way it works is I will go through the news that I sort of pick that I think matters from the last 24 hours on these various topics. Then we'll open it up for questions, comments, your guys' point of view, whatever. I certainly don't mind people disagreeing. I just ask for people to be respectful, but disagreeing is fine. Mods are cool with you disagreeing. Just don't be a jerk, actually. Even if you agree and you're a jerk. Thank you, Hazel. That's the one thing the mods will get you on, is being a jerk. Thank you, Hazel. Elizabeth as well. Otherwise, feel free to disagree. I don't care. Exactly. Play nice, lads, as Callum says. Otherwise, please feel free to do the GIFs on TikTok and YouTube. Very helpful. Thank you, Marcy. I do this stuff full time and I do it for free. And the way I'm actually able to afford to do this is with your guys' gifts, which help me out a lot because you help me pay the bills, and help me pay the bills means I can keep doing this. So thank you for that. So yeah, please do. Thank you, Crazy American. I will always try to do a shout out when I see those big TikTok gifts, the ones that, fly in my face like Vicky's. I'll do a quick thank you for those when I see them. And on YouTube, obviously, Super Chat questions, I always, as a thank you for those, will get to those as the next thing I talk about. I try to answer all your guys' questions, but there's no way there's too many. But at least for Super Chat questions, I'll always do those. All right, let's get rolling. Hey, Shane, thank you for that. So I wanted to start with some Trump news really quick. Then we will go and do Israel and then Ukraine. There's more Israel news than Ukraine tonight. Thank you, Amy. Jenna Ellis, who is one of Trump's campaign lawyers, thank you, Cindy. Her testimony has been coming out in the Georgia case, I believe. And basically, she had testified previously, but the video of the testimony has been leaked or given, I don't know, to ABC News and I think the Washington Post, and they've been posting it online. I just watched a clip of it on CNN. And basically, she's testifying something that I think a lot of people worried about with Trump, but we actually now know to be true, which is basically Trump planned to remain in office no matter what. She talks about, thank you, Ellie, a conversation she had, thank you, Carol, with Dan Scavino, who's worked for Trump for 20, decades at Trump Tower, et cetera. And she was talking to him in the White House, I think it was maybe late December or so, about where things were going. Trump kept saying he won the election and they kept losing the court cases. And she said something to him about, it doesn't look like things are going very well or whatever. And he responded to her and said, the boss is not going to leave under any circumstances. Thank you, Louis. Under any circumstances, we are just going to stay in power. And she responded and goes, well, it doesn't quite work that way, right? Like once January 20th comes, the Constitution says the new guy becomes president. And he responded, we don't care. Trump. Now, this is something, what's interesting about this? This is something I and a lot of people had actually postulated, that Trump was going to literally sit in the Oval Office and not leave. And he was going to try to provoke a constitutional crisis because basically thinking, now, let me tell you what should happen legally, okay? There's a very interesting story about this, about Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was the national security advisor to President Jimmy Carter in the 1970s, okay? Carter then loses to, not Carter, I'm sorry. He was Carter. Yes, Zbigniew Brzezinski with Carter in the 1970s, and then Reagan wins. Okay. Well, the way it happens is you get to January 20th. The new president gets signed in at noon. Thank you, Cassandra. Gets sworn in, hand on the Bible at noon on January 20th. And all the powers switch. He's the new president. All of his staff, the staff of the old president, no longer works there. And it happens like this. Well, it was Brzezinski, who's the national security advisor. He is working at the White House Inauguration Day, January 20th, 1981 in this case, right? Ronald Reagan is being sworn in, and Brzezinski has to be there because they had the hostage crisis with Iran and other things. And basically, you just need some staff staying there at the White House because even though it's not election day, even though it's the Inauguration Day, there can still be crises, right? International crises don't take a break. So he's there at the White House. He left, finally. It was like, 1 minute to noon or whatever. The new president's getting signed in. He closes up his office. He leaves, walks out the front door. He literally exits the White House gate and remembers he left something in his office. And he turned around and the guard wouldn't let him back in. And he says, what are you talking about? I just walked out. Thank you, Cassandra. And the guard said, it's 12 o'clock. You don't work here anymore. You don't have a pass. You don't have anything. So Brzezinski couldn't go back in without the new Ronald Reagan staff inviting him in, blah, blah, blah. But the point was, it is that specific of a thing that happens where at noon, I should say, the power changes from one administration to the next and it's over. Well, officially, had Trump decided to stay in the Oval Office and not leave, Officially, what would have happened, what should have happened, was Trump would be a trespasser at 12 o'clock exactly, right? Thank you, adventurers. At 12 o'clock exactly on inauguration day, he would have been a trespasser. He would have been arrested. Actually, you said like most employers, right? He would have been arrested. He would have been dragged out of there by the Secret Service, because actually it would have been a serious problem, because Trump would have been somebody who isn't the president, who isn't allowed in the White House, sitting in the president's chair in the Oval Office. I mean, you would have been tackled, any other citizen doing that. This is what's so scary about what Trump is doing. Yeah, it didn't happen. He planned on it happening. It didn't happen. Thank God, finally, in the end. But this is what's so scary about this stuff. Anyway. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun between now and the election. So let's move on. Let's do Israel first. Let's do Israel, Gaza. President Biden just announced that they are inching closer to a deal, a partial deal over the hostages. Keep in mind that Hamas is still holding 240 or so hostages that they took in Israel. Keep in mind also that half of those hostages that Hamas took have foreign passports. Now, many of them might be dual nationals. They might be Israeli and something else, but 20% of them are from Thailand. I doubt there's a lot of Thais who are dual national Israelis. Maybe there are, not sure. But 20% of them are Thai. They're from all over the world. Hamas took them hostage, brought them back, obviously, to Gaza. What Biden said that he is confident the deal is going to go through. Another U.S. official said they are inching closer to a deal. It's not a done deal yet. It should also be remembered that a couple of weeks ago, the Palestinians and the Israelis were also very close to a deal, and it fell through, right? So it could fall through. What is being talked about, according to CNN, but it's not agreed to, is a sip of water, and I'll tell you. Some of the proposals being made are that Hamas releases between 50 and 70 of the 240 hostages it's holding. So it's not like it's not done. Israel would release some of the Palestinian prisoners it's holding and agree to a 5-day ceasefire. That's sort of the proposal that's out there. Now, some of the complications are, first of all, none of those things are agreed to. Israel hasn't agreed to 5 days. Israel hasn't agreed to the Palestinian release. Hamas hasn't agreed to the release of the civilians it kidnapped, right? Some Israeli soldiers too, but mostly civilians. The other complications, Israel doesn't want to release any Hamas members. So basically, Israel says, first of all, you got to give us the list of everybody you want released, Hamas. But second of all, we're going to go through this list, and if there's any Hamas terrorists on this list, or any other terrorists for that matter, we're not releasing them. You're not getting terrorists in exchange for civilians that you kidnapped. The second problem, and this one gets even more confusing, is that it's not clear who Hamas is even holding. You've got a Palestinian Islamic Jihad involved as well, another terrorist group that is holding some of the hostages. And the problem is Israel needs to be sure, or not just Israel, this isn't just Israel, this is governments from around the world that have citizens who are kidnapped by Hamas. They need to be sure literally who is being released, right? Guys, I will say one thing, mods, real quick, because you know this, but anybody who's getting the not true thing, that's a troll talking point. Just block the person who does that. Because that's a talking point being given to people, because they use it at weird times, like now, where I'm literally just telling you an update on the negotiations. Saying it's not true is ridiculous. It's all over the news. We know the status of the negotiations. That's a talking point that people are using to troll, basically. So just letting you guys know. But somebody brings that up and just knock them out, please. I mean, block them. I would just don't even. All right. Any case. So that's what's up. Because of it kind of becoming thank you, Sean, because last time it wasn't quite clear, whether this deal was going to work. Thank you, Doggy Dave. I'm not sure if it'll work this time, but there you go. And keep in mind, it's a partial deal because it's not all the hostages. It's a 5-day ceasefire. We'll see. Estimated 200,000 Palestinians have moved through northern Gaza to southern Gaza. Thank you, user 123, through the corridor that Israel established since November 5th. So that would be 9 days. Israel established a corridor. I've got to print out my Gaza map again for you guys. It's in DC. But basically, Gaza's like, thank you, Cassandra. Gaza's like this, okay? Basically like a rectangle. Israel came across the top third, attacked from the top and also the top third, so that the top third is now surrounded. Gaza City is up there. That's where Israel has encircled, and they're doing most of their attack. They opened up a passage, usually like 4 hours a day or so, right in the middle, and it allows Palestinian civilians to leave and go to the south where there's a lot less fighting going on. Basically, 200,000 Palestinians have now taken advantage of that and left the north and gone to the south in the last 9 days. That's that update. Hospitals, lots of news on hospitals. Actually, I'd say most of the news today is about hospitals and flour as well. United Nations says only one hospital out of 30 is functioning in northern Gaza. Thank you, Big Hawk. A Hamas official, and honestly, it's a little confusing. A Hamas official said this afternoon that 25 out of 35 hospitals in Gaza overall are out of use. That would mean 10 hospitals are functioning. And if only one is in the north, then 9 are in the south, which is maybe true. It's very confusing. Anyway, bottom line is, I think it's fair to say hospitals are struggling. Okay. I don't think we've got an exact number on anything coming out of Gaza, frankly, because either we're trusting Israel's numbers, thank you, Marcy, or we're trusting Hamas's numbers. I don't really trust either one. I certainly don't trust Hamas at all. But, even Israel, you're at war. I'm going to take what you say with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, I think it's still fair for us all to say the hospitals are suffering. Thank you, Martin. Little more on that. According to CNN, the White House and the Pentagon said today that Hamas is in fact storing weapons and operating a command center from the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. Thank you, Tarmo. Now, the Al-Shifa, thank you, Steve, as well. The Al-Shifa hospital is the main hospital in Gaza. That's the one we were talking about yesterday. And the Biden administration says basically they've got their own intelligence, and this is from the Pentagon and the White House, that shows that, in fact, the Hamas terrorist group is storing weapons and operating a command center from the main hospital. Now, the Biden administration also said directly that does not mean, I will tell you exactly, Kirby, who's the spokesman for the National Security Council at the White House, he said, we do not support striking a hospital from the air, okay? Hospitals and patients must be protected. The U.S. also does not want to see a firefight in the hospital. Now, what you're seeing there is you are once again seeing a bit of daylight between the Americans and the Israelis on this. The Biden administration is basically saying, we know Hamas absolutely is using Palestinians as human shields. We know Hamas is operating out of hospitals, and they're operating out of the main hospital, Al-Shifa. Okay, thank you, TBI, Chris. But the Biden administration came out and said, but we do not want you attacking the hospital. And that's interesting because Israel, the Israeli government, has been using the fact of the hostages being there, or not the hostages, but of Hamas being there, to basically say that we can attack the hospital. The U.S. is saying, no, you're not going to attack the hospital. Now, I still do think that you still have a problem if you're the Biden administration. Let me put it this way. Maybe the Biden administration has an alternative for Israel, and they can't say it. What I mean is, I'd still like to know, okay, then what do you do? Right? If these guys have a command center below a hospital and they're only hiding in civilian areas, what do you do if you can't hit that civilian area? Do you do nothing? Right? I mean, do you go in? But keep in mind, going in, if Israel, the last report was they were about a block from the hospital, their troops. If Israeli troops went into that hospital, people would freak out, right? Oh, the Israeli troops have invaded the hospital. So what do? Now, the Biden administration may actually have an answer to that, and they've told the Israelis privately. Thank you, Cassandra. But the Biden administration has not told us anything public yet as far as what should Israel do if they don't hit the hospital. And that's the only thing I'm asking here is, thank you, Chief. Not saying it's a good idea to hit hospitals, but as I've said before, if you're at war and the other guy came into your country and slaughtered 1,400 or 1,200 is the official number now of your citizens, and mind you, you're only a country of 10 million people. Slaughtered 1,400 of your citizens, you're going to get him. And if he's only hiding in civilian areas, you're going to have to risk some civilian casualties to get him. That's going to happen. No country on the planet is going to stop the attack. The question is, what is the better, safer, more humane way to attack? And again, I will keep harping on this. I keep not seeing that out there. And I'd like, from the Biden administration, especially at some point, I feel like they need to put out there, what is the more humane way for Israel to go after Hamas then? And I think it sort of behooves them to come out and say it, especially if they think Israel isn't doing it, then say it. Say it. Say, this is what Israel should be doing, and put the pressure on them if they really think that's the case. A little bit more. The United States would support, and this was interesting. So the United States said today it would support an independent third party conducting evacuations of patients from hospitals in Gaza. That came today from the State Department. He well, let me just see here really quick. Adding the U.S. is in conversation with a number of humanitarian organizations and third parties to do just that. Miller, who's the spokesman for the State Department, said that Israel would support such a step as well, but was concerned Hamas would not. Now, that's interesting. And I think that would be good. As much as people say they don't want people leaving northern Gaza, as I said yesterday, folks, you got lots of death happening in northern Gaza and lots of destruction. At this point, you could certainly say you'd like Israel to stop the attacks. Thank you, Aviv. But if Israel doesn't stop the attacks, and so far they're not, you need to get the civilians out of there. Thank you, Alex. And in any case, I think so. If they can get people at least out of the hospitals, I think that makes a lot of sense. To get somebody from a hospital where they're getting blown up to a hospital where they're not getting blown up seems a no-brainer. Final point, flour. Reportedly, Gaza's last working flour mill could stop production in a few days, according to a spokesman. The Al Salam Mills is the only one out of 5 mills still in operation in southern Gaza. I raise that story just because, again, it gets to sort of the larger issue of what's going on and what happens with war, is that a lot of, and frankly, this is not unlike Ukraine, except that Gaza's smaller and having a much bigger problem. The country starts to sort of fall apart as a functioning country. Thank you, H63 Tom. Thank you, Courtney. In Gaza's case, they're not a country, but whatever. It's still the same concept. You're a discrete geographical area with an economy. And the economy starts breaking down, thank you, Elizabeth, when you've got sort of nonstop war going on. Because not only are people killed, businesses are destroyed, people can't get back and forth to the workplace, right? I mean, you can't do sort of anything, right? So anyway, I think the flour mill thing was sort of interesting as just another example of how the war is sort of impacting it. Because what the flour happens, by the way, it's not just bakeries can't get flour. A lot of individual, women are showing up, moms at the flour plant to get flour for their kids, to basically make bread, make the basic staples for their food. So it's another ongoing problem. Actually, 2 last things to tell you. One was there was a big march today, pro-Israeli march in Washington, D.C. It was very peaceful. There wasn't any racism reported. There was no violence, which is good. Thank you, Florian. And there was a really interesting poll today released by YouGov. YouGov, very trustworthy. As I've told you guys before, polls can be wrong. This poll doesn't look particularly crazy. It actually, parts of the poll are better for Palestinians than recent polls. Thank you, Blue Ariel. The rest of it isn't, but parts of it actually are slightly better than what the other stuff has shown. But I wanted to go through it because I will tell you this until I'm blue in the face. If you want, and this is from my background in foreign policy, Georgetown, etc., if you want a country to do something or to stop doing something, you've got to understand what's motivating them. Thank you, Lori. Same thing for a politician, actually. You've got to know what's motivating them. And it is interesting to see U.S. attitudes towards Israel through the framework of different breakdown of politics and age, demographics, young people versus old people, because it's going to tell you something about the ability to influence Americans. And also, it will tell you why America does what it does, right? Why is America so supportive? Why is the American government so supportive of Israel? Let me get my glasses because I thought these numbers were kind of fascinating. So hang on a second here. All right, I've got sort of three charts I'm going to explain to you all. First one, who do Americans sympathize more with in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Okay, U.S. adults overall, like age 18 to 100. U.S. adults overall, 37% sympathize more with the Israelis, 15% with the Palestinians. That's actually interesting in a good way for the Palestinians because a lot of the polls previously that I was finding were almost 4-1, 5-1. 4-1, 5-1. Thank you, Alex. Palestinian 1, Israel 5, right? So you'd find like 10% support for Palestinians, 50% support for Israelis. That's interesting, actually, that you've got 15 to 37. That's more like 2.5 Israeli to 1 Palestinian. It's a better margin. Political identity, Democrats, 27, thank you, James, 27% of Democrats support or sympathize with the Israelis, 20% of Democrats, Palestinians. That's 27 Israeli, 20 Palestinian. Thank you, Dawn. Interesting as well. I don't know that I'm shocked by it. I think that's kind of what I would expect. But it shows you that clearly more, it's a statistically significant number, 7% more that support Israel over Palestinians, but it's not a huge difference. I wouldn't say, it's not like it's 40% to 10%, right? 27% to 20, it's not huge. Independents, this gets more interesting. Now, we'll get to Republicans in a second. Republicans, not be surprised, because Republicans are going to be, super duper Israel because of the religious right and all of that. But independents are always interesting to look at, because independents are the folks you've got to keep in mind when you're trying to win things. Typically, you need your people. If you're a Democrat, you need Democrats on board. And whether it's winning a presidential election or anything else, you need Democrats on board, and then you need to get the independents, the people in the middle who maybe go back and forth, right? So you need your people, because basically neither Republicans nor Democrats make up 51% of the country. You got independents in the middle. So to win that vote, you need the middle. So independents are interesting to look at. Independents here, overall U.S. adult independents, 30% sympathize with Israel, 16% sympathize with Palestinians. So independents are actually less supportive, thank you, Cassandra, than Democrats. And then Republicans are, of course, the greatest divide. 58% of Republicans support Israelis. Only 9% of Republicans support Palestinians. Not surprising. Now, looking at age demographics, this is not broken down by politics, though. I'll get to that in a second. Overall, 18 to 29-year-olds, this one not surprised me, but it's interesting. 18 to 29-year-olds, 26% support Israel, 24% Palestinians. I'd say that's almost an even divide. 2-point difference gets you within the margin of error. What is interesting to me is young people overall, age 18 to 29, are basically split between Israel and Palestine. That's interesting, because we keep being told that young people are wildly in America in favor of the Palestinians, and they're actually split between the two. Then you get to older groups and forget it. 30 to 34. I mean, the older groups all skew Israel. That's not a surprise. Let me break this down now. Parties, because this gets more interesting, okay? If in the in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, are your sympathies more with, again, Israel or Palestine? Democrats, let's look at Democrats here. 18 to 29-year-old Democrats. Now, this is interesting because these are the protesters, okay? These are the folks that are protesting in the U.S. They're young people, right? Some of them are Jews, actually, liberal Jews or very liberal Jews. A lot of them are just people, other movements of the left, LGBT, whatever, that sympathize with the Palestinians. 18 to 29-year-old Democrats, 28% support Israel, 31% support Palestinians. That's interesting to me. I would have expected that number to be wildly pro-Palestinian, because that's what we keep, especially young people. We're talking 18 to 29-year-olds. That number surprises me, because it's almost a tie, guys. Thank you, Western. 28% Israel, 31% Palestine. That's almost a tie. Now, it's a 3-point difference. I didn't see what the margin of error is. The margin of error of this poll is probably 2%, could be 3%. So you're almost within the margin of error. They lean slightly Palestinian. That surprises me. 30 to 44-year-olds, 29% Israel, 23% Palestinian. 45 to 64-year-olds, 24% Israel, 14% Palestinian. 65-year-olds up 30% Israel, 10% Palestinian. What that tells you is, and again, going back to the overall Democratic number, okay, the overall Democratic number is 27% pro-Israel, 20% pro-Palestinian among Democrats. This is something that I told you guys at the beginning of sort of all of this, and people didn't believe me, but that overall America is pro-Israel. Definitely among young people, I didn't really know, but even among young people, it's among young Democrats, it's split 50-50. Young people overall were split. Young people overall, I'd say the youngest, they're almost in the middle, Actually, last little thing was the approval of Biden's handling of the war. Okay. Democrats, 62% of Democrats approve of Biden's handling, 21% disagree. Thank you, Tom. That shows you something there as well. Okay. Democrats are more evenly divided. The numbers are closer in terms of, do you sympathize with Israel? Do you sympathize with Palestine? Right? Those numbers are closer among Democrats. But do you approve of Biden's handling of the war? It gets much broader. 62% of Democrats approve of the handling, only 21% disapprove. That means even folks that are more sympathetic to the Palestinians say Biden's doing okay, right? That's interesting. The other thing, and I'll end with this, that surprised me, age group 18 to 29. By the way, this is going to be everybody age 18 to 29. Age 18 to 29 in the US, Democrats, Republicans, independents. Do you approve or disapprove of Biden's handling of the war? 45% of 18 to 29-year-olds approve of Biden's handling of the war. 30% of 18 to 29-year-olds disapprove of Biden's handling of the war. Thank you, Lizard. Right? 45% approve, 30% disapprove of that key young age group. That's pretty good again, right? That was the age group where things were pretty much split 50-50. They're split 50-50, but not when in terms of sympathies, but not when it comes to how Biden's doing. How Biden's doing, 45 yes, 30 no. That's a good split, 15 points. Anyway, that's it on the Israel front. I just thought that was a very interesting poll. John did not get new glasses. John has glasses he forgot he had that look a little better, so I got them. So I'm using them for the show. All right, a little bit more now. Let's I will do a quick pitch again for my work, guys. Please do keep the gifts coming. We're going to do Ukraine next, and then we'll do Q&A. Remember, please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and on YouTube with the questions and the super chats and everywhere else. I do this for free. It helps me a lot for you guys to basically provide the gifts because they pay my bills. I'm only able to do this because you guys support me and I can do this as a job. Thank you, Lizard. I don't really, so far, not really making any money on ads or anything else. I've had a couple come my way that I said no to, but no real ads or anything yet that I've made money on. So it's you guys doing this. So that poll is YouGov, which is a very credible pollster. Thank you, Cindy. Let's keep going then. Actually, I'll tell you, I'm sorry, but I will show you again the auction stuff. I'll show you the 2 auction items. Tomorrow our auctions end. We've got auctions over on Discord, discord.aravosis.com, or if you're on Discord, thank you, Vicky. Very nice gift. I love the little monkey. If you're on Discord, just search for Aravosis, my last name, and you'll find our Discord community. One of the things we do is we auction off cool stuff from Ukraine that I get, and 50% of the proceeds we channel back to help Ukraine. 50% goes to support my work. So I keep 50% to pay the bills so I can do this, and the other 50% I send back to Ukraine rather than keeping it. And I've been doing it since we started. Usually I send about $200 to $300 a week back, which has been really nice. We've got this week, among other auction items, hand-painted Christmas ornaments from Ukraine, which are very cool. Actually, the woman helping mom here in the house, who's Ukrainian, said that this is traditional garb, but this is a wedding. She said this is a traditional wedding ceremony, and they're wearing traditional clothing for the wedding, which is interesting. I did not realize that. So that's what this is. Very cool. The back of it, the woman signed with a sort of a happy holidays and the name of her town, and then the date 2023. It's a 5-inch ornament. It's very cool and hand painted. I just liked that it was a wedding. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. Hold on. I'll show you the other one. We've got a black one as well we're auctioning. This one's neat because it's an angel. And I just think, again, it's the Petrikivka style, which is the traditional Ukrainian painting style with the flowers and everything. And it's a Christmas angel, but you can see I'll show you here, the flowers. And the back, again, has the Christmas message. It's sort of a happy holidays message that's typical in Ukraine. And there you go. They're plastic, which is nice because they're light. Thank you, Addie. And they don't break. I mean, they break, but they don't break like a metal ornament would. They're very pretty though, aren't they? Yeah. So I like them. So anyway, those are up for auction. I'll show you some of the other auction stuff when we are done. Let me do Ukraine now. Okay, a little Ukraine news. There's actually a little less Ukraine news, but it's actually some good news today on Ukraine. It is day 628 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. Let me shift to the news here. Reuters reports, this is good. Reuters reports that Ukrainian forces I can speak. I promise I can speak. Ukrainian forces have secured a foothold on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River in southern Ukraine. Here's my map. 1 second here. So this is significant. The Dnipro River is the river cutting Ukraine in half. Okay. Oh, my dog woke up. That's okay, Sash. Here you go. Oh, you're okay. I was covering you up, silly. Don't get worried. There you go. There you go. All right. There you go. Okay. She got worried I was going to sit on her. Dnipro river cutting Ukraine in half. The Russians basically occupy south of the river until you get here, and then it cuts here and here. So this is the Russian occupation, okay? The Ukrainians have been, there's been a lot of battle areas, but some of the most important areas the Ukrainians have been fighting, okay? Over here, not in Kherson, Zaporizhia. This is the big battle. This is the battle where, for a while at least, the Ukrainians were making some good progress. First, there were a ton of mines. A lot of them were getting hurt. Then there was some really good progress, and now it's getting slow again. There's also fighting over here, southwest of Donetsk. There's fighting right north of Donetsk, Avdiivka, which we'll talk about in a second. There's fighting here, Bakhmut, right? There's fighting up here, Kupiansk, where the Russians tried to throw a ton of men and a ton of weapons and basically aren't really advancing much. So there's been a lot of different fronts in the war. Over here in Kherson has been a bit of a wild card. The Ukrainians, thank you, Garrick. I just saw that now. The Ukrainians have been throwing some troops, not a crazy number, but we think maybe several hundred troops across the river here in a seeming effort to establish a bridgehead, basically establish a group of its fighters that can sort of stay there and defend an area where they can then keep going. Thank you, Vicky. Keep going down. This is important because what's Ukraine's goal? Ukraine's goal, I mean, obviously Ukraine's big goal is to take back its territory, but it's sort of strategy for doing that, or maybe it's tactic. I always forget which one it is. It's strategy for doing that, I think, is cutting the occupation in half, whether you're cutting it up here, whether you're cutting it up here. But Russia is right here. Russia is providing its territories because of the land link it's got into the territory along here. It also has the Kerch Bridge, which Ukraine keeps attacking, right? But otherwise, Russia gets supplies from here. If the Ukrainians can cut the Russian occupation here, or here, or here, or here, they've now cut off Kherson and Crimea from this land bridge to Russia. They've cut off a lot of the supplies. And then, of course, they would blow up the Kerch Bridge, and these guys would be totally isolated, making it certainly not easy, but easier for Ukraine to then attack these areas. And it would really freak out Putin because Crimea is Putin's sort of big territory. I'm adjusting you guys here. His big territory he doesn't want to lose, right? So one way for Ukraine to do this was from here to here, which was what we were sort of hoping was happening, right? Well, another way is coming through Kherson and either cutting across right here, right? Which means these guys and these guys are cut off, or you just come down here and you cut off Crimea right across here. So the fact that Ukraine has now, it looks like the Ukrainians are saying they have now established a beachhead, okay? The fact that the Ukrainians are here, if they can start coming down further south, thank you, Jackie. If they can start coming further south, they could potentially threaten Crimea. Also, the closer they get to Crimea, the more range they've got for their weapons to hit Crimea, to hit Russian military bases, to hit Russian radar, Russian planes, everything else, right? I mean, let's just say Ukraine's range is this, for example. You go farther, and now your range is all the way down here, right? So all of that is very beneficial to Ukraine. It's good news. I mean, it's slow news, like everything. But I'm sorry. The final point to tell you. So not only is this important in the long run because you want to basically start threatening Crimea, but it starts to freak the Russians out. If Ukraine has truly been able to establish a bridgehead there in Kherson, the Russians are now. It's I always say the Eye of Sauron in Lord of the Rings. Literally, Putin's going, whoa. You know, he was focusing on all those other areas, and now he's going, holy crap, I've got to start worrying about Kherson as well, because what if the Ukrainians are able to now take this bridgehead and threaten Crimea? It screws up Russian planning. It starts to make them have to put more troops over and everything else, which is beneficial for Ukraine. Let me see a little bit more here. And this was it. Okay, this was interesting. So more about this foothold. Okay. This was from Reuters. In a highly unusual incident on Monday, 2 Russian state news agencies published alerts saying Moscow was moving troops to more favorable positions east of the Dnipro River in Ukraine, only to withdraw the information minutes later. They're talking about the area that Ukraine said there was a beachhead in, right? So first you have Ukraine saying, we've established a beachhead south of the river. Then you've got the Russians saying, we've moved our troops south of the river to a more favorable position. Reuters explains, in the past, Russia has sometimes used similar phrasing about moving troops to more advantageous positions in order to describe retreats. Well, they took that down right after they posted it, but if that wasn't a mistake, it was a mistake in the sense that someone's going to lose their head, but if it wasn't a mistake, and meaning it was the truth, that means they're backing up what the Ukrainians said, that the Russians had to retreat a little bit because the Ukrainians actually did pretty well south of the river. Again, Is it going to change the war yet? No. Is it a significant advance? Looks like it. Looks like it. Especially with the Russians seemingly confirming it. Avdiivka, just a quick report from Avdiivka. Avdiivka, northwest suburb of Donetsk. Russians have thrown a ton of troops, a ton of weapons there, not getting much out of it, which is good. Reportedly, I saw two reports on this. A Russian Su-24 was shot down. I saw another report saying an Su-25. Either way, it was a Russian fighter that, great. I mean, a significant plane of the Russians got shot down over Avdiivka today, which is good. Ukraine claims that Russian forces have lost over 4,000 soldiers and 500 pieces of equipment in fighting on the Eastern Front in Ukraine's Kharkiv and Donetsk oblasts in the last 2 weeks, I believe. If you're talking about Kharkiv and Donetsk, you're more or less talking about Kupiansk up here and probably Bakhmut. And you're probably talking about the battles here around Donetsk, Avdiivka, maybe here south, Bakhmut, and Kupiansk. And they're claiming that the Russians lost 4,000 troops and 500 pieces of equipment in the last couple of weeks. If true, that would be a good thing. Weird story out of Germany today, but relating to Russia and also relating to general sort of trust of the news. But let me put some chapstick on or some stuff on my lips. The Guardian report, actually not just the Guardian, but I got this from the Guardian, reports today that a leading Western journalist who has long been considered one of Germany's top independent experts on Russia, received at least 600,000 euros, which would be around $600,000, maybe $620,000 in undisclosed offshore payments. Just to make it clear that this was not on the up and up. They were offshore payments from companies linked to a Russian oligarch close to Vladimir Putin. Leaked files have revealed. Hang on a second. Where's the rest of this? Here we go. Hubert, whatever, Seipel, an award-winning filmmaker and author, was paid money in installments, which documents suggest was to support his work on 2 books he wrote that chart Putin's rise to power and often portrayals described by many as sympathetic to the Russian president. So top German author, might have been paid off by Putin. Not really good news. Thank you, Cindy. It also should give us concern about who else is being paid off by Putin. But, Financial Times had a bad report today. Not a bad report. I mean, they did a good job, but a negative report that the U.S.-led price caps on Russia's oil are not working. You may recall that we tried to come up with sort of a complicated system to cap Russia's oil revenue at $60 a barrel and didn't work. According to the Times, Russia's oil sales, the U.S.-led cap on Russia's oil sales are being almost completely circumvented, according to Western officials and Russian export data, forcing countries to explore ways to reinforce one of their key economic sanctions against Moscow. One senior European government official said almost none of the shipments of seaborne crude in October were executed below the $60 a barrel limit that the G7 allies imposed. That's not good news. Putin pardoned, this was a crazy story today, but typical of Russia. Putin today pardoned the convicted killer of a famous Russian opposition journalist, Anna Politkovskaya, which is her name, after his military service in Ukraine. So Anna Politkovskaya is the Russian opposition journalist who was murdered. The guy who murdered her gets to go to Ukraine and fight, and Putin pardons him because he went to Ukraine to fight. Mind you, Putin probably had her killed. Putin has people killed. He has journalists get killed, opposition leaders get killed. She was an opposition journalist, so she's like a double whammy there. You do the math there, but what a surprise that Putin is pardoning somebody that murdered his opposition. It's unfortunate, but Germany. This is good news from Germany. Germany's been really, I will say this, Germany, I think, since the U.S. has been having its troubles of late with Trump and the MAGA Republicans and Ukraine, Germany has really sort of stepped in a very interesting way. Germany has handed over 10 Leopard 1A5 tanks to Ukraine recently. German arms manufacturer Rheinmetall will also supply Ukraine with 25 main battle tanks, the Leopard 1A5s again, as part of an order financed by the German government. The Leopard tanks due to be delivered in 2024, so next year, are currently being repaired and ready for use at Rheinmetall facilities. And the company wrote that it would also send Ukraine 14 Leopard 2A4, so the Leopard 2s are the more modern versions, next year on behalf of the Dutch and Danish governments. Good. No, I mean, it's nice to see Germany do this. Is good, you know. European commissioner said that the European Union is capable of producing 1 million artillery shells and missiles next year for Ukraine by the spring. True, or good if true. And finally, Putin, this just, again, classic Russia. Putin approved amendments to the law on presidential elections, because Russia's presidential election is next year, 2024, that establish new restrictions on media coverage, according to Russian state legal portal. So in other words, Putin signed a new law that will restrict the media even further during presidential elections. Thank you, Hazel. Oh, thank you. It's a wonder. Oh, that's a very cute gift. Thank you for that, Hazel. And thank you, Ernie, for the heart. You know, classic Russia. I mean, we need to censor the media because there's a presidential election. Of course you do. It also is interesting, frankly, that he's worried because, I mean, you know, does anybody think Putin's going to lose the presidential election? I just think it's kind of interesting that, you know, he feels the need to clamp down ever further just to be safe. All right, let me show you a couple more auction items, and then we'll do Q&A. Thank you, 1829 or 1829, 1829. I'll call you that. As I was saying before, we've got auctions we do over on Discord. It's discord.aravosis.com. And I've got cool stuff I get from Ukraine, auction it off to you guys. And 50% of the proceeds we channel back into Ukraine via my friend Vlad, number of different charity, humanitarian work, also military. Lately, we've been helping the military out with a drone school that actually we got some, I put them on the Discord. You guys had helped raise some money for a drone training school, I think first-person view drones, and they did us 2 videos thanking us for the money you guys raised, showing us the different supplies they bought. I've got both videos over on Discord. You want to check it out. The other thing is, as I said, we do fundraisers for Ukraine. 50% of the auction money goes back to Ukraine. 50% goes to support my work. I've got all the auctions end tomorrow. Typically every Wednesday they end. These auctions I put up late, so I will tell you these auctions are actually a pretty good price because they haven't been up very long, so the prices haven't gone up as high as they normally do. A couple of the cool things: a cool Ukrainian fridge magnet painted by the same woman that painted the Christmas ornaments. You'll recall I was showing you guys earlier. The Christmas ornaments she hand painted. They're 5-inch ornaments, 12.5 centimeters. This one shows a traditional Ukrainian couple getting married with sort of a Christmas scene, you know, the behind it. Very pretty stuff she does. This is a smaller little fridge magnet she made in the Petrikivka style. You can see, very nice. A couple other things. A really nice, this is very popular, Addie knew, a Ukrainian Trident military patch. These are the patches that have Velcro on the back. I mean, they do stand to a sweater. They're meant for military, you know, military. Oh, it actually holds really well on a sweater. But these are neat. This is the Trident. My suspicion is this patch is dark. Ukrainian colors are blue and gold or blue and yellow. They do make darker patches. And at one point I asked Vlad about the darker patches, and he said that the other darker patches I showed him were made basically because of snipers. At night, when you're out and about, you don't want a patch that is going to reflect brightly. You want, think about it. If you're in the woods, this looks like a dark leaf versus, or even during the day, frankly, it looks like a dark leaf. A yellow patch is going to stand out. So my guess is that's what it's for. It is unused. It is new, just because some people like old ones, but this is very cool. A couple other things. We've got some additional fridge magnets that are also Christmas ornaments produced by the Ukrainian Postal Service. Each of these is up, a Christmas star and a little Ukrainian cat eating a sausage. Kind of cute and funky. It says Happy Holidays in Ukrainian up on the bottom of each. And you can see they're fridge magnets. So kind of cute. And finally, a cool little Ukrainian Trident keychain, which is kind of pretty. Got it from Ukraine as well. You know, just kind of cute. So anyway, we've got a number of cute little things. Go check it out. Personally, the Christmas ornaments are my favorite, but I'm kind of a Christmas guy. So, and they're really neat. Like I said, most of them, we've got a smaller one we're auctioning too. I didn't show you, but thank you, Brock. But the larger ones are 5-inch, which is 12.5 centimeters. I mean, they're ginormous Christmas ornaments. They're fabulous. All right. Let's do Q&A and everything else. Guys, please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and YouTube, etc. Mama's got to eat. Thank you, Cerveza. Appreciate it. And let's do questions and everything else. Magical says, did Hamas underestimate the damage Israel would do? Well, here's the thing. Yes and no, and I don't know. Hamas wanted Israel to go crazy. We know this also from some recent reporting. Thank you, Beaches. That Washington Post, I think it is, had a really big a combat patch. When at base, people use blue and yellow. There you go. Okay, sorry. Best worst games just explained. I was wondering about that. Okay, so that makes sense. This is called a combat patch, he said. Basically, when you're on the base, you would use the blue and yellow, the pretty Ukrainian flag patch. In other words, you see soldiers meeting with Zelensky and they've got their blue and yellow patch. This is a combat patch that you use in combat. My suspicion, am I correct on this, is the idea that you would use this patch because it's darker and frankly, you're less of a target. I mean, because I think it would be stupid to have a big yellow thing right on your heart so that you stand out in the distance. Mustard says correct. Okay, that's what I was figuring. Oh, interesting then. Thank you for that. Okay, so it is a combat patch. There we go. A field patch, Matteo says. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. It'll match your muddy jacket. Exactly. All right. We were saying, so Hamas overestimating or underestimating Israel. We know from a recent report from the Washington Post, Hamas wanted to provoke a regional war. They wanted Israel to respond and go crazy. Okay, they wanted this to be so horrific and bloody that Israel didn't have a choice but to go nuts. They wanted civilian deaths, and they wanted civilian deaths, by the way, because the more civilian deaths, right, they're hiding behind civilians anyway, the more civilian deaths, well, look around you, right? What happens when Israel kills civilians? Even if Israel doesn't try to kill civilians, depending on your point of view, the world goes crazy, right? And thank you, Bonnie, and the Arab world goes crazy, even better, right? The Arab Street goes nuts. So they wanted a regional war. They wanted other countries to come in. So if anything, thank you, Chris, I'd say Hamas has been kind of pissed off that Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, thank you, Chris, has not come in the war, that Iran has been playing games through its surrogates, attacking the Americans in the region, but Iran itself has not actually gone in and attacked Israel. So I think they overestimated the response so far from their terrorist allies in southern Lebanon and their terrorist enabling allies in Iran, okay? They did not over or underestimate Israel's response in terms of attacking Gaza, because that's what they wanted. They wanted them to attack Gaza. Final point, there was another point I was going to make with that, with the overestimating. I know what it is. We don't know how heavily Hamas itself has been hit. I mean, the Israelis claim, I didn't even report it to you guys because I sort of see the claim and I go, well, what does it mean? An Israeli military official said today that Hamas has lost control of northern Gaza. Thank you, Matteo. But I hear that and I go, okay, what does that mean? Do I really believe him? Right? Like, I don't know what that means. We don't know how well Israel has been able to target and destroy. Maybe they've destroyed the tunnels, but have they destroyed a lot of Hamas fighters? For example, that figure, the latest figure of Palestinian dead is 11,000. The problem is that figure includes Hamas fighters. And Google it, you'll see that I'm telling you the truth. We don't know how many of those are Hamas fighters. So we don't know. I mean, there are 30 to 40,000 Hamas fighters. How many of them have been killed? I don't know. Right? So we don't know whether Hamas underestimated Israel's ability to hit Hamas back. We don't know. So there you go. I mean, it honestly wouldn't hurt for Israel to tell us a little bit more about that if they actually do have information about how many Hamas guys have actually been hit, how Hamas has been degraded. Granted, they want to be careful with the intelligence of not divulging too much, but let me see here. Oh, good for you, Rob. Sorry, Rob was sharing some personal information that was very nice. What else, guys? Israel or Ukraine? Like I said, we can talk Ukraine too. What else we got? Yep, mods are always good at getting rid of the creepers. They always are. Hey, South Dakota, Coley. Appreciate that. Thank you. Do I think Israel will ever get its hostages back? I don't know. Thank you, Matteo. I mean, I will say this. I'm actually kind of surprised. I heard there was a report today that the families of the Israeli hostages, well, I shouldn't say Israeli hostages. Half the hostages have foreign passports. Let's assume 2/3 of the hostages. Okay, we know half the hostages are Israeli. Of the remaining half, some of them are going to have two passports, Israeli and foreign. So we know at least half, maybe 2/3, I don't even know, are Israeli. There was a report today that the families have been sort of rallying and getting more and more angry at the government, demanding the government do something about the hostages. I'm a little surprised by that because as an American looking at this, knowing the history of Israel, I would have thought Israelis would have been like, you know what? We're at war. Terrorists have taken 200 of our citizens hostage. Thank you, Timothy. And we want them back, but we're not going to compromise with terrorists, right? So I'm a little surprised that they're putting pressure on the government to do more to get the hostages back. I guess I would have thought it would have been, you know what I mean, that there would have been something a little more stoic. Because also, I got to tell you, if you're at war and the other guy's taking hostages, I'm not convinced it's the government's number one goal to get the hostages back. I'm really not. I think the government, if I work for the government, of course, I'm going to say that, right? The government has to say it. But if you're at war, your number one goal is to win that war, not to lose the war in order to get the hostages back, right? Not to do something that so injures your country. I wouldn't want to. So I don't know if they're going to get the hostages. So I guess I don't know if they're going to get the hostages back. I wouldn't be surprised if Hamas kills a lot of them. I also wouldn't be surprised if some of them do get killed, because if they're in the tunnels, Israel may not know which tunnels hostages are in and which one it's just terrorists and no hostages, right? So that's trouble too. So I don't know, but for me at least, I'm a little surprised. Well, let me put it this way. I guess I'm not surprised the families want their people back. I'd be curious what percentage of the Israeli public is putting pressure on Netanyahu to get the hostages back, or whether the Israeli public overall is like, look, this is horrible, but our priority is not to cave to the terrorists. I don't know. Now, I saw somebody mentioning something here about Netanyahu. There was new polling today. Let me see if I've got it on my phone. Like, basically, Israelis not very happy with Netanyahu. Let me look for this really quick. If I've got it handy here, I'm going to see if I do. Hold on. I may have it, or I may have retweeted it, but it was some polling numbers I saw on Twitter today that were interesting. Basically, it once again showed Israelis blaming Netanyahu for sort of the crisis. I didn't see the breakdown. I don't have it here. I didn't see the breakdown, but I was assuming they meant blaming Netanyahu because he should have better prepared Israel. Israel shouldn't have been attacked, right? That he didn't know. His government didn't know. They were caught blind by everything, right? We blame Bibi for everything, but you know what I mean? Like, but whether it's blaming him for the attack in the sense that it was there you go. Saqib is saying Israel's massive intelligence failures. That's what I was saying. Exactly. Right. That people are blaming him for the intelligence failures. Well, and real quick. So Stooge says, do you think Iran chose not to help Hamas because they're Sunni? Okay. I don't know nearly enough of, I don't want to put this. It confuses me as an American, the whole Sunni versus Shia thing, and to what degree it does and doesn't, cause people to be allies or not allies, right? It confuses me a little bit. So I don't know. I will say this. Iran not getting involved so far is probably because Biden moved 2 aircraft carriers and associated ships into the Eastern Mediterranean and made it clear to Iran that we were going to blow them up if they got involved. As I've told you guys before, America supports Israel. The American government supports Israel. We will go to war for Israel, absolutely, positively. In terms of U.S. government policy, some people may not like it on the left, but we will go to war for Israel more than anybody, I think. And Biden absolutely would. I think that message got transmitted to Iran. Supposedly the U.S. used China as well to help transmit the message. I read, who knows if it's true. They probably used some other people, but basically let the Iranians know, thank you, Jonathan, that if they basically declare war on Israel and start attacking, we're going to take them out. And at this point, at least, Iran got the message, because it's true, frankly. I mean, as I said, I don't want us to go to war with Iran. Thank you, Jeremy. I think it'll be terrible. And Iran will then unleash terrorists worldwide and everything else. But will we let Israel get attacked by Iran and not get involved? No. I mean, we would get involved. It is exactly. Sobo says basically big stick diplomacy. It really is. And I think somebody who knows us, who also knows Iran, kind of went and said, okay, I know you think Biden might be bluffing. This is America when it comes to Israel, but neither party bluffs. Neither Democrats nor Republicans bluff. So, and by the way, you could have Donald Trump in a year, and even though Trump is kind of all over the place, Republicans are super duper in supportive of Israel. So Trump comes in, and you're going to see way more of a chance of military action on behalf of Israel, I think. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but if you're telling Iran, you'd say, you better watch it. What else we got, guys? Thank you again for that, stooge. What else we got? Good question, Callum. I don't know if it's official Ukraine issue. I don't know. Ukraine mod issue? What do you mean? Did you mean, I don't know if it's Ministry of Defense. I don't know. What I also don't know, frankly, thank you, I scroll. I don't know to what degree the patches Ukrainian soldiers are wearing, like the fun, Ministry of Defense. I caught that. I thought you meant the mods at first, like you guys. Like you meant, is it for you? I don't know to what degree Ukrainian soldiers, when they're wearing, because they've got a lot of fun patches they wear too, when they're not going to know. They're not going to know. They're not going to know. No. They're just not going to know. But I also don't know to what degree Ukrainian soldiers, when they're wearing fun patches, I doubt they're Ministry of Defense patches, are they? I mean, because I've seen pictures of a lot of the fun stuff they wear, like the goofy patches and stuff. I doubt they're Ministry of Defense official patches, are they? I mean, right? But they are from Ukraine. I know that for a fact. Right, Ukraine fun patches wouldn't. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. So I doubt this is official. Also, I'm not sure what official even is in terms of where do you get official ones from. You know what I mean? I know it does, Colton. Colton writes, your video the other day has weird music on it. That's because TikTok, in all of its wonderful wisdom, apparently you young people like this. TikTok automatically throws, that's what I thought, Irina. TikTok automatically throws music on all of my TikTok videos I do. It drives me crazy. And basically, they pick the music. It's something goofy. They throw it on. And if you're not paying attention when you're editing your video, if basically you record the video and you just go and you go, okay, next, put a title on it, put some tags and print it. If you don't literally listen, especially if you've got a microphone plugged in, if you don't unplug your microphone, you can't hear it. Well, I don't unplug my microphone because I'm like, I don't need to. They throw music on automatically and it drives me nuts. So they did it again yesterday. The only thing was, the music wasn't bad. Can I pick not to? I don't think so, honey. I've got to see. I don't use CapCut yet. I know I should. I've tried it once. But I don't think there's an option to not. I think I have to literally go and cancel the damn music each time. It drives me crazy. Absolutely crazy. At least, like I said, this one at least had somber music. So I was like, okay, somber music I'll leave when we're talking about Gaza, but I'm not going to put music on videos about Gaza and Ukraine. It's just, unless it's a fun Ukraine video, but Gaza, I'm not putting video. I'm calling honey. By the way, that's a great joke from an American movie called Airplane years ago. When somebody says it's a wonderful spoof on airline disaster movies from the 1970s. And at one point, somebody turns to one of the officials of the airline and says something like, surely you can't be serious. And he responds and he goes, I am serious. And don't call me Shirley. I love that. So it made me think of Matan's honey joke. It's a great joke. I speak jive. Oh yeah, we could be here all night with the jokes from Airplane. The funniest damn movie. And the thing too is it's a movie. It's called Airplane. It is a movie that probably couldn't be made today. It's so saucy. I mean, they've got it's all back then. There were all these airplane disaster movies. The plane crashing, the this, the that, and like one scene has this little girl who's, I don't know, 7 years old, and she goes, and the woman next to her is like, I'll have coffee. She goes, I'll have coffee too. And she goes, oh, you want some coffee? How would you? And the flight says like, how would you like your coffee? And she goes, I like my coffee black, like my men. Oh, and you're like, I mean, that's how edgy, crazy this movie was. It is a hilarious movie. Like I said, 1970s called Airplane. It's just precious, this movie. Some of the stuff I can't even quote. It was so bad. I mean, you'll find a lot of the clips on YouTube anyway. 1976, maybe. You'll find the clips on YouTube, but it's just a wonderful movie. But it's very, I mean, like I said, today, I can't even imagine them getting away with that today. I mean, oh my, anyway, it's so happy. Yeah, it's such a fun movie. You did. Roger. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, what else we got, guys? What else we got? I know Israel and Ukraine to new movies, and then we'll get Gunther to change it to cooking. That's his forte. He gets us talking. Oops, I dropped my jacket. 1 second. Oops. He always gets us talking from serious stuff to cooking, which is always fun too. What else we got? My thoughts on the UN, very funny. Very funny. The autopilot, yeah. Yep. You're fine. You can go. Sasha, you can just push the door open. Go on. Go. The door is open this far. My dog is one of the smartest dogs on the planet, but she can't quite figure out. Oh my God, hold on. Are you out of your mind? Go. Jesus Christ. How difficult is it? Oh my God. Jesus. Did you see the door was open this far? It had to be open this far or she couldn't get through. Oh my God, she's a total princess. Jesus Christ. Mom is doing well. Can Ukraine win? I don't know anymore. Honestly, I worry. Sign of life. She just ran into the other room. I worry that look, their top general said they're in a stalemate. Zelensky said no, but it's Zelensky's job to say no. I'm a little worried. And frankly, as I've said before, this is where Joe Biden wanted them to be. Biden wanted Ukraine not to lose, but he didn't want Ukraine to win, because if Ukraine won, Putin would get mad. And where is Ukraine right now? They didn't lose, but they didn't win. But they did lose another 10% of their territory, or whatever percentage, right? Because Crimea in the south, they lost in 2014 when the Russians invaded, and now they've got that big swath of land like this. I mean, it just pisses me off, because this is what people like me have been predicting for a year and a half. I mean, I've been trying to hopefully say Ukraine could win, but I have been saying from the beginning that Biden doesn't want us to win. Biden wants us. He doesn't want Ukraine to win. He wants Ukraine to tie. And guess what? He got his tie. No, I think it worries me. It worries me a lot. Sorry, Irina is saying the Israeli Defense Forces say that its forces, based on intelligence information and an operational necessity, are carrying out a precise and targeted operation against Hamas in a specified area in the Shifa hospital. Interesting. Okay, I saw somebody else mentioning on TikTok something, but I wasn't sure, saying the Israelis were moving into the hospital. So, yeah, okay. So apparently Irina's a friend and she follows this stuff, so I trust her, meaning she got it from a good source. Thank you, Super Hornet. The Israelis are moving into the Shifa hospital, which is the main hospital, to go after Hamas in the hospital. I'm telling you guys, I don't know what the answer is to all of this. I just don't know what the answer is to all of this. Cerveza, if Ukraine wins the war, I'm happy to apologize to Biden. That'll be the least of my worries. Thank you, doggy. But as I said, if they're hiding in there, and Israel's right. Well, no, it's confirmed by an IDF spokesperson. Oh, okay. Yeah, Israel, person named Israel from Israel, I'm going to guess, is saying, although Israel could be a Latin name too, although Ohayon doesn't sound Latin, but says it was confirmed by an IDF spokesperson right now. Okay, so they're moving in. Like I said, guys, and I know some of you guys get ticked off, but some of you understand where I'm coming from. I really don't know what the alternative is, and this is the problem. If you hide if you hide among civilians, then there's no way to get you unless you go after civilians. Not go after civilians, but you go after the terrorist in that civilian area. I mean, there's no other way, and I don't know what you do about it. It's smart, but I would thank you, Joe. I will say this. And this is not, your name is Israel, but you're not from Israel. Well, I was going to say, it almost could be a Latin name too. You almost got me thinking you're Latino. Or no, or is it something totally otherwise? Well, because for example, like Latinos use the name Jesus, which in English is funny because we'd never call anybody Jesus. But in Spanish, oh, here we go again. All right, guys, we're having a doggy break. It is a quarter after the hour. We've been doing this for 75 minutes. Hang on. Okay, I'm coming. All right, hang on. I'll be right back. Mods, you can explain to people what we're doing. All right, I'm coming. Wait, I've got to find your leash, Sash. Oh, shit. Shit. All right, guys, hold on. Her leash is inside. 1 second, Sash. No, but Sasha has to go out. 1 moment. Okay, come on. All right. Oh, come on. All right, let me finish my thought there. Sorry, dog. So my thought here, we're talking about Israel going into the hospital, some targeted operation to go after the Hamas's operation in the hospital. And here's what I was thinking. I took economics in graduate school at Georgetown because we had to, but I actually ended up liking it. I never studied economics before. And what I liked about it was there is an interesting logic to incentive. I was saying motivation, incentives. And a lot of economics is, incentives that you provide to the public or business. Tax cuts could be incentives to spend more money, this kind of stuff, right? And I just sort of was thinking about this and talking with you guys right now. I am still agnostic on Israel's war strategy and even going into this hospital. And I'll say it, I'm agnostic. I'm undecided. I'll admit it. One thing that does worry me, though, if Israel were to somehow call off its assault, if Israel didn't go into Gaza the way it's gone in, because Hamas is hiding among civilians. I'm not playing with you right now. Good try, though. I don't know if you guys could hear that. A little. Now she wants to play. She woke up. Hey, I'm talking here. No. Now she wants to play, and she's yelling at me to play. Stop. Okay, this is a serious conversation. If Israel didn't go in because, not the hostages, but because Hamas was hiding among Palestinian civilians, you would be telling Hamas and every terrorist group in the world that they need to hide among civilians all the time, because they will not, even Israel won't attack you if you hide all of your operations among civilians. And in the future, civilians will be used for everything. That doesn't mean you attack civilians. I'm not saying that, but I am saying, and this, by the way, is the issue with hostages as well. It's what America is dealing with in Russia. And I've said this about Russia. We should stop negotiating for hostages in Russia at this point. Maybe the one guy, Paul Whelan, who was there before, right? We get him out. But anybody, the Wall Street Journal journalist, I feel sorry for him. But you know what? He went there knowing Russia was already taking Americans hostage. And what did they do? They took an American hostage, right? The Radio Free Europe woman, she went in there knowing they take Americans hostage a couple of months ago, and they took her hostage. What a surprise. I don't think we should be negotiating for them, because I think we have already established for Russia that Americans are total pushovers. Take them hostage and you'll get the worst, nastiest people on the planet released. And frankly, Israel, you're kind of doing, I mean, I will say this, your government, I don't get it personally, but again, I'm not Israeli, so I don't know your politics, but you guys released like 1,000 Palestinian terrorists or something in exchange for one soldier a while back. That kind of stuff blows my mind. I just feel like, I get it that you want to release your soldiers. I get that, but Jesus Christ, Anyway, but yeah, so I do worry about the precedent the world is setting, because we've pretty much already said it. The world has said the world will go nuts if you try to attack a terrorist group hiding among civilians. Clearly, the world will. Next time, hide among civilians. That's the lesson you should take from this, So anyway, what do you do? Yeah, Kronos, it just, I mean, again, I don't know your politics though over there. So like, I don't know, but it just seems, I don't know about the negotiation thing. I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, with hostages, first of all, negotiating over hostages is difficult anyway. I just don't know. I don't know. All right, guys, I'm going to go. It's already 20 after. I'm not going to do the news summary because the news has been busy lately. I'm going to go turn on the TV. I'm watching it on my screen, the Israeli operation in the hospital. Right now, Israel carrying out operation at Al-Shifa Hospital, or the Al-Arifa Hospital, as I've been calling it. That's not it. That's the name of a guy, one of my friends on here. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. Love dinosaurs. Anyway, guys, let's call it quits for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody, Irina and everybody for make sure I didn't miss any questions here. Yep. Okay. I've got your guys' questions. Thank you. Done. And let's continue this tomorrow. Thank you, Tiffany. I will be back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern time, US. That's 6 o'clock Washington, D.C. time. And, we'll talk. As I said, I'm going to try to do the Hebrew part. I don't have Hebrew. I only know like Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu. That's all I know from American television. That's it. That's it. I don't know the words. My Jewish friends know the words. I don't know the words. Thank you, Nikki. Or Nickate. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow night. All right. Thanks for joining us. And there you go. Good night. Najathi? I'm not going to pronounce your name well. Najathi. That's a cool name, though. All right, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, mods. Thank you for the gifts and everything. Appreciate it, guys. All right. Have a good night. I'm going to go have salmon. I'm starving. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks, mods.